Let's play a game, shall we? Who is this person? An Austrian born in the mid-1940s who grew up in Graz before failing out of school and then becoming a race driver, winning the biggest race in the world before his budding career came to a premature end. Yep, that's right, you guessed it. It's Dr. Helmut Marko. Wait, you thought I meant Jochen Rindt? Well, funny you should say that. The pair grew up together in the capital of Styria, and not only that, they were best friends. Bonding over mopeds, parties, and girls, of course, Rindt and Marko sped through their teen years together, getting into and out of trouble as the youth does. Rindt, an orphan taken in by his grandparents, had a reputation for being fearless and impulsive, and Marko was his partner in crime. In an interview for Red Bull TV, Marko said other parents didn't necessarily want to see their children with us. But with their grades suffering, both got sent to boarding school in an effort to get them to straighten out. It was here that they got their first taste of driving. After Rindt broke his leg while skiing, a chauffeured VW Beetle was arranged to help him make the journey from the boarding house to the school. It didn't take long for the pair to convince Rindt's grandparents that the chauffeur was unnecessary, and the pair honed their craft on the 10-kilometre journey through the Koppen Pass. But just prior to their graduation, the boarding school lost its official recognition, resigning Marko and Rindt to failing their exams back home. Instead, the pair set off to Germany in Rindt's Simca to watch the 1961 German Grand Prix. This event became the turning point for Rindt. Fueled by the desire for what he had seen, Rindt travelled to England to pursue his dream. Marko, on the other hand, studied law, graduating with a doctorate in 1967. He then started racing himself, firstly Formula V and touring cars, before getting an offer to race at Le Mans with Porsche in 1970, alongside fellow Austrian Rudi Linz in a Porsche 908/2. The pair finished third overall and first in the Group 6 class, a very impressive debut for Marko. But then tragedy. During practice for the 1970 Italian Grand Prix, Jochen Rindt's Lotus 72 pitched left under braking into the parabolica, hitting the guardrail head-on, which then split apart. Rindt was killed, and Marko had lost his friend. In a twist of fate, a chance meeting with Joachim Bonnier, who delivered the eulogy at Rindt's funeral, led to a Formula 2 offer for Marko. Literally at the funeral. Literally at the funeral, he was offered a drive in Formula 2 for Écurie Bonnier. Marko would make his F2 debut for Écurie Bonnier at Hockenheim before scoring his first point at the Nürburgring before another tilt at Le Mans in Porsche in 1971, this time with the 917K, with the Dutchman Gijs van Lennep. After an early delay, the Martini Racing 917K took advantage of troubles for the Ferrari 512Ms and the JWA Porsches to inherit the lead overnight, and with perfect conditions for racing, completed an incredible 397 laps of the Le Mans circuit, winning by 3 laps over Atwood and Muller, and in the process, setting a distance record for the 24 hours of Le Mans, a record so substantial that it was only broken in 2010. Marko's result at Le Mans earned him a call-up to the F1 Écurie Bonnier squad for the German Grand Prix, although contract disputes meant he didn't race. A few weeks later, in his home Grand Prix, in his home province, he made his full F1 debut driving a BRM P153. Despite retiring, he made a good enough impression on Lewis Stanley, the team owner of BRM, to be invited to complete the season with the team. For 1972, Marko had moved up the BRM hierarchy and moved across to Alfa Romeo's Alta Delta squad for the sports car side of things due to the change in sports car regulations. His best F1 result came at Monaco with an 8th place finish, but a standout drive at the Targa Florio, where he set the fastest lap of the race in an effort to close a 2-minute gap on the leader, finishing only 17 seconds behind, saw him break out into the mainstream. Only 6 weeks later, Marko was given the new BRM P160B chassis for the French Grand Prix. The new chassis wasn't as roomy as the P153B that Marko had come from, and he sat much higher in the car, exposing his head above the cockpit. While trailing Emerson Fittipaldi, Helmut was hit by a stone that Fittipaldi's Lotus kicked up. The stone pierced Marko's visor and hit his left eye. Remarkably, Marko managed to pull over and stop the car before falling unconscious, but the incident left him permanently blinded on one side, and as a result, brought his racing career to a premature close. Just as an aside, the driver who replaced Marko at BRM for the 1973 season was another young Austrian, called Niki Lauda, who went on to become, well, Niki Lauda. While that race at Clermont-Ferrand brought an end to Marko's driving career, it didn't halt his involvement in motorsports. After building a fortune in business, owning 2 hotels in his hometown of Graz, Marko started managing drivers, including Austrians Gerhard Berger and Karl Wendlinger. He then started his own race team in 1989, RSM Marko, competing in Formula 3 and Formula 3000. Around this time, his relationship with Austrian businessman Dietrich Mateschitz began to flourish, as did Mateschitz's business venture, Red Bull. For 1999, RSM Marko became the Red Bull Junior team, and Marko became the overseer of the Red Bull Driver Development Program. Since then, in the last 22 years, he's kick-started the careers of many drivers, most notably, of course, Formula 1 World Champion Sebastian Vettel and current challenger Max Verstappen, but also the likes of Le Mans winner Sebastian Buemi, Formula E champion Jean-Eric Vergne, and of course, Australians Mark Webber and Daniel Ricciardo. And while he's looked at nowadays as a stern and bullish driver manager, Dr. Helmut Marko's legacy is so much more than the gruff face on the Red Bull pit wall. And it would be smart to remember the daring ruffian of his youth. The fastest man ever at Targa Florio. The Le Mans distance record holder. The man who lived a dream.